Colette, to people out with Scotland, the SNP are probably synonymous with the independence movement. You decided to leave the party in late 2019. Why did you leave, and how did ISP emerge? What vacuum were you attempting to fill?
There's several reasons why I left. I was with the SNP for a few years, and I just started feeling that from branch level right through to the full party level, there was things that I just didn't feel comfortable with. Certainly policies that people know that I wasn't happy with. And I just felt that I just couldn't continue with the party the way it was going. We had been talking about the importance of a regional list party for a wee while previous to that. I'd been talking to a few people. We knew how obviously what happened in 2016 with the just under 1 million votes, just under 1 million votes basically went in the bin because they only got 4 MSPs. So we really needed to think properly about how people voted. And we've got more than one unionist party, and they rely on list votes, mainly here in Scotland. So there is room for other political parties that support independence. It's not just about one party. The way our system works, people have to know that if one party does really well in the constituency, then the regional list is affected.
You're the original supermajority party then?
Yeah. We were approved last May. So we were 11 months old when Alba came along. We had done a lot of groundwork. We had everything ready. We had our branches all up and running, and all our committees, and our manifesto was ready. Our policy committee had worked on our manifesto. We had done all the vetting process for our candidates. Our candidates were all ready. So, we had done a great deal of work in that 11 months. Setting up a political parties is hard enough and a big undertaking, but to actually do it under a global pandemic is taking it a wee bit far. But, we'd done so much work in those 11 months under really quite pressured circumstances. But where there's a problem, there's a solution. And my team's worked really, really well together, and we've overcome so many barriers to get us to where we were. And it was, just unfortunate that we were just ready to go and then Alba came along.
What do you say to these accusations about gaming the system, cheating the system?
There's more than one unionist party, and again in Scotland they really do rely on the list vote, and I think we saw that the likes of Douglas Ross and Ruth Davidson were really pushing the list vote in their campaign because they knew that was where they're going to get the majority of their MSPs. So they were really pushing for the list vote. That was acceptable, seemingly. But for an independence voting party, then seemingly that's gaming the system, it's cheating, it's splitting the vote, it's all these different things. So it's seemingly one rule for one and another rule for someone else. What we have been saying about the 2016 election and the 4 MSPs for just under 1 million votes, well, because of the SNP 1 and 2 campaign and people taking that on board, then there was over 1 million votes this time, for SNP in the list. And they got 2 MSPs elected. So the 2 MSPs that they gained in the constituency, they lost them in the regional list.
From here on in, Colette, do you plan to contest as many by-elections and elections as possible now? You are here to stay.
Yeah, we are here to stay, absolutely, yes. We're not going anywhere. We're definitely moving forward. We've got quite a few different plans ahead for the party. But yes, ISP aren't going anywhere. We're going to be standing in as many by-elections as we can.
Have you had any discussions with the Alba party regarding these elections? Because in reality, 2 new parties could cancel each other out.
There hasn't been any formal discussions just now. What I would say is that it's slightly different than the parliamentary elections when there was like 56 seats. But whereas the local elections, local council elections, is over 1,000 seats. So, I think it would be quite beneficial to everybody if I was to have talks with Alapa to make sure that if we are standing in a local council, we don't stand in, say, the same ward as each other. I think that's quite acceptable that we have those discussions and we could run in the same council, but just not necessarily on the same ward, because there is enough seats to go around, to be fair.
Yes, you'd think so with 1,000. Now, there's no formal type of alliance system for smaller parties in Scotland at council elections, is there? There is something. Now, I'm sitting in independent Denmark at the moment. I'm part of the Scottish diaspora. Now, in the council elections here, the smaller parties can form, maybe 3 or 4 of them, an election pact, whereas the party that has a number of votes which are not used will automatically go to the leading party in that small mini coalition. So it increases the chances for minority representation. Instead of 4 parties being knocked out, it will be focused onto one, the votes. And so they enter into this agreement together. There's nothing like that in Scotland?
No. Not that I'm aware of. But again, some people who are in political parties sometimes actually just stand as an independent themselves anyway if they felt that was going to be more beneficial. But no, as far as I'm aware, there isn't such thing as an alliance, as far as I'm aware.
No. There are huge issues with SNP governance present, Colette. From the outside looking in, I could ask you what's gone wrong, but I'd rather ask you, how has ISP been set up? And when will your party hold its first conference?
When we first started, we had to form our constitution and our financial scheme, etc., to cover all the bases for the Electoral Commission. We're planning to have our conference late October, so we're working on that at the present moment. And again, that will be to encourage members to bring resolutions to their branches for policy making, and I'd be looking for hopefully members to look at more local issues that we could focus on for, again, leading up to the local elections next year. We want members involved as much as possible. Yes, the National Executive will be standing down and will be encouraging members to come forward and go forward to be a part of the National Executive and hopefully have a representation from each of the regions. I think that's really important that we get somebody from each of the regions there to have their place on the National Exec.
Yes. How will that work? Will that be one member, one vote throughout the entire party?
The constitution at the present moment is one member, one vote. And again, that's something we'll have to put to the members, whether they want to continue with that. So I would like members to be as involved as possible. We are a grassroots party. That's really important to me. I want people with life experience to have their say and to be active, whether it's to do with independence or whether it's to do with local issues. I think it's really important that people with life experience have a say. So, yeah, I think, again, that's something we'll have to put to the members, whether they want to continue with the one member, one vote, or if there's any way that they want to change that. But again, that's up to the members. I would like for them to have their say on that.
Colette, there are currently attacks on women who stand up for their rights. And today, Marion Miller was due to appear at a police station due to social media comment she's not even been made aware of. How have we reached the place where MPs and MSPs are expressing outrage at stickers and ribbons? What's happened?
Oh, it's really quite sad, isn't it, Peter, that we're 2021 and I feel as if we've went back 200 years. Women are being silenced. We are being made to feel third-class citizens almost. I don't know how it came to this. I really don't know how on earth is being allowed to come to this. This isn't equality. Our human rights have been taken away. As a disabled woman myself, I don't even know where I stand. I don't even know where I stand in society anymore, because you're really frightened to say anything. I know we used to laugh about PC going daft. You have to watch what you say, but this is going to another level. That yes, we have to watch what we're saying. We want freedom of speech. We don't want people to be abused or any threat of violence or death or rape or anything like that. But, people should have their freedom of speech. But when it comes to putting something up on Twitter that is factual, it's scientifically factual, or for, as you said, now women maybe doing some, what they're classing chalking, and maybe putting up a message. So when people are now going out there and trying to get the message out there by putting a message up using chalk, then they're getting done for it. I'd rather have the resources used for a lot more needing responses, such as violence to women and rape and abuse in the household, than a piece of chalk on a wall with a message that's scientifically factual. It's sad.